good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another NerdTube episode review. We are here talking about Star Trek tonight, namely Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 1, The Broken Circle. I, for one, am super excited that this show is back after a phenomenal first season. Um,
Okay,
wow, don't, is that echo me?
it's not us.
You're frozen for me.
Oh no.
I don't hear an echo, and you're not frozen to me. So,
Well,
Oh,
we
what the
can
hell's going
start.
on? Yeah.
Um, we can go ahead and start and get your impressions of the episode, Cheeto, if you don't mind, while we see if I stop lagging to Zam.
okay. I'm actually a little bit disappointed in this first episode. It felt like it was an episode of Star Trek John Wick. Um, and also I don't know. It just seemed like, hey, we're stealing the Enterprise, or and not again, but for the first time. But yet, no one ever mentions that the Enterprise has been stolen in the past. It just there's a lot going on here that I just was kind of like, really, 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 like the whole episode. So I, yeah, that's kind of my impressions of the episode. Zam, you go ahead.
Um, I thought it was kind of clever that they brought back moments from season one of Disco with the Klingon War and all of that. That was a smart move. Um, then obviously setting up for bigger things with the evil admirals. Ooh, or are they evil? It felt like they were evil. Um, it was good that we could focus. I do sometimes like these moments where like the main character is not involved and we can focus on everyone else and see how they operate without the main character. That was also nice. It was just it was just an okay episode. Like we like it's that we're good. We're back with these guys, and here we go. There are some elements I thought was a bit silly, and I'll have to talk about it as we progress in the play by play. But overall, it was just okay.
Um, yeah, I can see all of those points. I think I know kind of some of the moments that both you and Cheeto are talking about where it kind of the head scratchers. Um, so,
Before you jump in, Mage, I just wanted to also, I just noticed this, and sorry, we're kind of discombobulated right now, but Daniel Vance donated 99 cents. But
Oh,
so,
thank you, Daniel
so
Vance.
thank you very much, Daniel Vance. We always appreciate anything that you can, anything that anyone does to support us, whether it's just clicking and tuning in, hitting the like button, sharing it out, or giving money. I mean, that's, as I said, it's all much appreciated. Okay, go ahead, Mage.
um, so yeah, we'll hit the ground running with the play-by-play, and we'll just get right to it. Um, we open up with the Enterprise docked at Starbase 1 for inspection, repairs, and upgrades. During his log, Captain Pike notes a tension among the top brass. Um, we get the scene of Pike and Number One talking with her from prison. They're discussing trying to contact an unspecified lawyer, one whom Una says would be the only one who would touch the case with a 10-foot pole. Um,
Is there any lawyers that this could be referring to that might have gone over my head? Is there like someone special in this game?
I'm not the biggest TOS like guy. That's where my knowledge is the least in all of
It's
Trek, so I can't think of any character off the top of my head.
it's either going to
Um,
be Reed Richards or Mephisto. I'm telling you, Reed
very
Richards or
likely.
Fair
Mephisto.
enough.
Um, so Pike declares that he is going to go and speak to this lawyer in person and convince them to take the case. He goes to Spock and informs him that he's going to be in command for the 3 days that the captain is going to be gone. Spock's noticeably perturbed by this. Pike even notes if he didn't know better, he'd think he was worried. So
Was the stress caught upon him? But at first, I thought to myself, when I watched this episode twice, that it was because of the old, what he was going to plan to do with the Enterprise. But no, that never even came into his mind. I mean, it just being in charge of a fucking empty ship in a loading dock is making him fucking nervous. Come on, Spock, I expect better from you, mate.
I think it's implied that it's because his emotions are so out of whack because he just broke down the blocks that they set up during the Kolinar.
Oh, bollocks to that as well.
I know. It
Yeah,
seems like that's
bollocks to
going to
that
be
as
his.
well.
I think that's going to be his season arc. So he, as one does when they're nervous, Spock goes to the doctor, who says he thinks it's stress.
That's that universal health care at work.
It's like, I'm nervous. I will go talk to my doctor.
Right.
So Dr. Mbanga explains the points I just made about the mental blocks getting dropped when Spock had to defend the Enterprise from the Gorn. Spock is justifiably afraid that suddenly having emotions is going to affect his judgment while he is in command of the Enterprise. We see Dr. Mbanga prescribe an unorthodox treatment. He hands Spock his iconic harp and explains that while Vulcans study music for the mathematical properties, humans use it to express their emotions and create. He says that it'll probably relax him, and we see that happen almost immediately.
Well, I thought this was actually one of the better parts because that is it called a lyre or a lyre or some shit like that. The musical instrument. You're see
right,
him.
It is a lyre.
Yeah, you do see him during the course of TOS playing that fucking thing on multiple occasions. And this is a really fantastic way of shoehorning it in organically. I thought this was brilliant.
No, it's a way to put in a reference and a nod to down the line with it making sense to the plot,
and it doesn't like counteract anything that comes afterward.
Right.
Yeah.
So, not a well executed nod for sure, but the relief for Spock is short-lived as his pulse and heart and breathing once again spike when Nurse Chapel walks in.
Oh, Nurse Chapel.
This felt a bit weird. Like I didn't think he had anything. I mean, I didn't feel like he. I knew Nurse Chapel had the hots for him, but I didn't think it was the other way around so soon. It felt a bit weird.
No,
I don't think you watched last season.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was very apparent that Spock was struggling with Nurse Chapel.
No, I remember that moment where he had to there was a whole scene with his wife and how they had to pretend that him and Nurse Chapel were having an affair and his wife was believing that because it was logical in order for them to stay alive. And I kind of remember some shit like that, but anyway.
Yeah, but there was a lot of other stuff going on that there was a lot of other stuff going on that was what's the word I'm looking for? Tension, undercurrent of tension that was going on between Nurse Chapel and Spock.
Yeah.
I
just thought it was a bit more one-sided. I didn't think Spock had firmly joined on this bandwagon, so to speak, regarding them two getting together because his wife was so fucking hot anyway. You know what I mean? So anyway,
it's not all about image sometimes, Zam.
I'm sorry, I'm being very layman, but anyway, go
on. So Spock hurriedly leaves, and Mbanga teases Nurse Chapel about Spock's reaction. She tells him to not do that. Then informs him that she's going to be applying for a fellowship on Vulcan, an archaeological medical fellowship for 2 months.
She is.
Yes, she's going to apply
She's got a thing for Vulcans, man. Maybe it's more than just Spock. You know what I mean?
Perhaps. On the bridge, Ortegas gets chided for inverting the controls on the Enterprise, and then Uhura kind of gets some static from one of the engineers who wants to take the comms offline. She doesn't want to not set up a secondary comm for the interim time. He tries to hurry her, but she stands her ground, and I thought that was a good moment for Uhura right there.
I don't get why was Uhura being so fucking anal. The guy just doing his job is like, how dare you sit on my seat? Like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, it just seems like, she was just very protective of her station, I guess. I mean, I get what you're saying, where it's like, yeah, she's being a bit overprotective of
ridiculous.
Just like, she's not the only person who uses that station. When she is off duty, there is somebody else at that station. But
yeah, I look at it as what the fuck, personally. But okay, fair enough.
No, I don't disagree with you. That's one of the moments where I'm kind of like, really, like we're making Uhura like very passionately. And she's an ensign. Like, it's not like she's like the head technically she's not the head communications officer if she's an ensign, but that's like putting Harry Kim in charge of ops and he's an ensign. Like, how is an ensign in charge of operations?
Oh, also, by the way, there's a nice we might not mention it, nice nod to Nichelle Nichols regarding
the end.
At the end, and it was good that they remembered her again.
Well, it was the first opportunity they had to really honor her. So
yeah, because like there was a gap between shows, and obviously when she passed, and so this was nice that a show was able to remember and recognize her and her achievements and all of that. So yeah, like, well done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we cut to Spock playing the harp some more, and Uhura comes down to inform him of a distress signal from La'an that she has intercepted coming from the Kajdatar system. Spock contacts Admiral April and asks for permission to go there. He explains that the message specifically asked for the Enterprise and specified it as an anti-Federation threat. The Admiral explains kind of more of the situation on the ground there, though. The planet being split, the control of it alternating every 30 days between the Federation and the Klingons.
Which honestly is another what the fuck.
Yeah, that's
bollocks.
How would that even work?
Yeah, that was another moment. I'm like, okay, I can kind of tell that Discovery writers are kind of getting involved in here, because like just some of the stuff like that, we didn't have these kind of sorry, I was reading the comments. It just seems first season they kind of kept it to basics and they kept it simple, and it worked because it wasn't like a Federation ending threats. Even the last episode of the season, yes, it was a timey-wimey episode where Pike went to the future, but it's to the supposed future if he survives or doesn't get in the chair. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like this is the kind of stuff that like Discovery does to overcomplicate things, No,
I can see where you're coming from there. I appreciate that they're trying to kind of bridge the gap between the Klingon War and the kind of tensions we see when the Klingons were originally introduced in the original series. It's always framed with the tensions between the Klingons and the Federation, and usually used allegorically to talk about conflicts at the time, Cold War ideas, Vietnam very specifically, and on the nose explicitly said one time even.
But this felt more like we need an excuse to bring the Klingons in to make up for what Discovery did. And like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't, this episode felt unnatural. You know what I mean? Like it felt unnatural
It
for
was
not just
forced.
yeah, very forced. I mean, you know, but it's just like, you know, like what, I don't know. There's a lot going on in this episode that really makes me go, what? Like that's what I'm saying. Like the whole episode, I was literally going, what? Like why? What? What?
There's like get everyone, get the gang back together again, sort of episode 2, you know.
Yeah, and they did scatter the crew to the 4 winds at the end of the last season. So, you know, but you could find a better way to get everybody back together. I feel like I enjoyed the episode a lot, the initial watch, but I think that was just the excitement of, oh boy, it's back.
Yeah, I agree. I was very excited it was back too, but the more I sat with the episode, the more I'm kind of like, really? Like, yeah, there was a bunch of stuff here that just kind of made me kind of question what they were doing.
So we can't send the Enterprise because it'll start a war with the Klingons. The permission was denied by the Admiral. We cut to Spock.
That is Admiral April, though, by the way. That is the former captain
of the Enterprise.
Of the Enterprise. He was seen in season 1. He's the one who handed off the well, he's the one who asked Pike to come back after his sabbatical in Discovery season 2. So I don't know if people caught. I mean, I don't know if everybody caught that was April, but because he was only featured, I think, in one episode last season.
I believe so. Just
in the pilot.
Yeah, the pilot episode.
So Spock he asks the senior staff, as it were, the bridge crew and the medical, for help with his plan. And when asked what the plan is, he says to steal the Enterprise.
This is where I'm not a fan now because like the
Treads on the toes
is a big deal. Yeah, and what happened in Star Trek 3 was a big fucking deal. You know, it was massive. You know, and
I mean, essentially, Kirk lost his admiralty, and I don't think did they say he could never get it back, or was it just he was being demoted? Because I don't think he ever got his admiralty back. I think he retired as a captain.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he even said it to Picard in Generations that like, don't let him promote you, don't let him take you out of the chair or whatever like that. But obviously Picard didn't listen, but he did get promoted. But
I mean, who actually listens to Shatner anyway? I mean, not me.
Yeah.
So we get the credits, and I agree. This kind of takes with levity something that's been done before and been done very well before.
Grandiose, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, so playing around with that and taking that with so much levity, maybe not a smart move.
I agree. And honestly, it was done in Lower Decks. Season 3, episode 1, they stole the
Cerritos.
They didn't steal it, right? They were going to, and then they didn't. But that's still the premise of the episode was steal the Cerritos.
Yeah, but that felt like more like they were playing like a homage to season 3. So episode 3.
And I get that, and that's why I gave that a pass per se. But like in this one, it just
that's what Lower Decks is, isn't it?
But it's like the Kobayashi Maru. Yeah. It's like they keep on recycling these ideas, and it's just like there are main things that you really just shouldn't do. And like stealing the Enterprise is one that's like been done. Like, don't do it again.
Yeah.
Unless you have a good reason, like, to do so. And honestly, if it's in the past, you shouldn't be doing it. Maybe if they were stealing the Enterprise G or whatever, we can do that because it's in the future. But like right now, it's like, okay, the original Enterprise was stolen by Spock. No one's ever mentioned this beforehand. And I'm not one of those that are like, oh, it's got to stick to 100% canon. But that's kind of why I'm very sad for the Nurse Chapel Spock thing, because I'm really digging that Nurse Chapel Spock thing. but I know I can't dig it because it's not supposed to even remotely be something. Like, it's supposed to be one line in one episode of TOS, I think, right? Like where Nurse Chapel or what,
And even that doesn't mean fuck all, you know. So
yeah. So it's like I really like the Spock Chapel stuff, but the problem is that like it never is supposed to
yeah,
be. So unless this is a completely different timeline, we're kind of like it's the Kelvin timeline or it's the First Contact timeline or whatever. It's still it still has issues, and unfortunately, yeah.
No, I see where you're coming from for sure.
And hold on, before you start, sorry, Daniel Vance says he said the repercussions from this episode might be why Spock wasn't handed command after Pike. Wasn't he handed command in Star Trek 2? Wasn't he technically the captain of the Enterprise, but then Kirk took it back over because of them going to?
well, he was captain in Star Trek 6 when Kirk and McCoy got
He was the
arrested.
rank of captain, but he was still only
But he captained the ship.
Kirk's.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, he wasn't captain of the ship. He was a captain in rank, which kind of makes
No,
sense.
I'm saying he captained the ship once Kirk got arrested.
Oh, well, yeah, because he's the first officer. I mean, that's always what Spock has been, as the first officer. I also hated how they kept calling Spock in this episode Lieutenant. It's like he's Lieutenant Commander, if I remember correctly, right? So
I don't think so yet.
Fuck knows.
I thought he was Lieutenant Commander. I'll have to double check that. Okay. I might be wrong on that, so I will take it.
Picard once or twice would call lieutenant commanders lieutenant but sometimes they'll call them just commander too.
I would say mostly they call them commander, like Commander Data, Commander LaForge, even though LaForge was lieutenant commander and Data was lieutenant commander. Worf was lieutenant commander. He would be called Commander Worf. So,
yeah. Fucking stupid ranks. All right.
Structure. Who wants structure in a military type organization?
See, I don't look at it as a military, but they give them. It's like military, but not.
It's paramilitary. It's kind of like the Peace Corps is the closest thing I can think of to be like it. Like you sign up voluntarily and you go places and do cool stuff.
Yeah,
but it's also a lot of work.
Yeah.
But so it's Peace Corps, but they give you a pistol too.
Peace Corps with the pistol.
Well, yeah.
So we'll get back on track. So they send the ensign whose name I don't know to fake a coolant leak. Uhura makes an announcement. That
she's becoming more prominent, by the way. This particular actress. I think
she's gonna die.
She either might die or she might even get her own episode. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah.
So all non-essential personnel are ordered to evacuate because of alleged and imminent warp core breach. Commander Pelia, the lady in charge of the inspection teams here at the Starbase, makes her way to the bridge where.
Oh, you mean Agatha Harkness?
Go ahead, Mage. I'll put my 2 cents in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Get through the part.
She instantly sees through it, and then coyly, just kind of teases Spock about knowing and figuring it out, and straight up tells him, is like, I know you're trying to steal the ship. I know Amanda Grayson's your mom, but I'll help you. And just, wowza.
I do not. Go ahead,
I like the way that she there were some cool moments. Like she's very detective like, and she had Spock on edge. And the fact that Spock's Achilles heel is that he can't lie, and so she was able to suss him out quite easily that way too. It was there was some interesting moments about this, but she the whole time I'm watching her talk, I'm thinking to myself, someone give this poor lady a lozenge and give it to her right now, but she fucking needs it, But yeah.
I do not like her at all. Like, I do not like this. She's just annoying. Like what you guys kept on saying about Ortega's last season. I'm right. That's exactly my thoughts on the chief engineer. What's her? I don't even know her name. What is her name?
Palia.
Yeah.
Well, look, my only couple of things. First of all, she seemed to be in that moment of the episode, and we didn't see her until the end. So they kind of did what they did with that engineer from Discovery, where the one who's is it Jet Reno, the actress, who suffered like it kind of did. It felt like they did something like that with her initially, and secondly, like there'll probably be moments in this series where she has to be pretty much on her feet and rushing around like engineers do at times and do multiple things at once, having to be multitasking and everything. And I'm going to be fascinated to see how they pull that off with this particular actress, because she seems to be very laid back, you know what I mean, and not very quick, and if anything. So, yeah.
It feels to me like it's Star Trek trying to do the Doctor. This kind of like bouncy, kind of eccentric type, mysterious type character. I don't know. That's what it feels like to me.
Well, it does. We know she's not going to be sticking around at least until after Scotty gets there. So I mean, I wonder if she is some kind of like. I mean, she is she's an alien. Like, I'm not familiar with the alien they were talking about.
No,
I think they've just invented
new.
her for this. I
Yeah.
think.
Well, look, they might do what they did with Discovery, and instead of having a new captain every year, they might have a fucking new engineer every year. So by the end of the season, she could be dead, or she retires, or has to go back to being a teacher again, or whatever, and then we get somebody else before we finally shoehorn in Montgomery Scott. So she feels like a bouncy Guinan to me. She's hundreds of years old. I wouldn't mind her knowing if she knows Guinan, and we can have the young actress who played Guinan in Picard. We could have her maybe come back in this as well, which would be pretty cool.
That would be cool. I'm not gonna lie. I would kind of mark out for that. Like I'd kind of be like, all right, I see you.
Yeah.
I don't is in Generations. Is that the first time that Guinan species encounters a Federation, or I don't remember, or is that just like they just?
Well, I mean, she encounters Picard in the Wild West when Picard was time traveling, but that was a different era before the Federation was even a fucking, an idea in somebody's ball sack. Yeah. So,
you mean in Time Zero?
I can't remember the name of the episode. I just know it's the Western episode.
Yeah, Time Zero. Yes, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, they do. By the way, we're calling it a Western episode doesn't narrow it down, because there's loads of fucking Star Trek Western episodes. So, different series. Yeah.
So, she tells them to vent drive plasma, and the Enterprise is ordered by the starbase to move away. Commander Pelia offers to be their chief engineer. We get the kind of line,
Exactly.
It's been 100 years. Since she's had engines of her own. Uhura identifies her as a lanthanite, but
I know that accent.
Elaborate. Yeah.
She's playing all coy and shit like that. You know what I mean? Maybe she's a fucking spy. Maybe she's a fucking Klingon who's fucking being chopped up again, like that dude in season 1 of Discovery. Who knows? Anyways,
I don't know. I'm not feeling that character at all. Like, I mean, I liked Hemmer. Like, and I'm not even like mad that Hemmer's gone. Like, it's not the fact that I'm like, oh, I miss Hemmer. Like, Hemmer. I like the way that Hemmer went out. I mean, I didn't want him to go, but
I think Hemmer should have been a 3-4 season type character. We understand that he can't last forever, but getting rid of him before the end of season 1, and the fact that he's a character with disability as well, I don't like them doing that too. That wasn't a very clever move by the Star Trek creators as well, in my opinion.
I feel like the chief engineers of Enterprise are going to be like the Kenny. Oh my God, you killed the chief engineer!
You bastards!
You bastards! You killed our chief engineer.
Spock orders them to head to the Kajatar system, and we get a moment played for laughs where Ortegas asks him if he's going to say a thing. And we get, the thing. It was funny the first time. The second time, I'm just like,
fucking hate this. Look, this is the one thing from Kurtzman's era that is just really fucking stupid, and they need to stop this shit right now. This is not clever. No one fucking likes it. You know, it's happening with all these different eras of Star Trek. We've seen it with Picard. We've seen it with Disco. We've seen it with this. Just stop this shit. This shit in the fucking bud right now. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate this so fucking much.
It seems too meta to me. It's so damn meta. Just trying to play that for laughs, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, for me, it's like you're going to run out of words that mean go. I mean, I think maybe that's what they were doing here with Spock. They're just like, we're just going to make this sound super stupid because it is super stupid.
Maybe they just played Spock for laughs the whole episode when they weren't playing him for like the super tug at your heartstrings moments. It was like extreme one way or the other with Spock all episode.
Yeah.
So we get to Kajatar 4, and on the ship, Lon is engaging in a drinking contest.
Yay, drinking!
Klingon. Yes. Let's.
No, come on. This obviously. Please tell me I'm the only one who wasn't thinking Raiders of the Lost Ark, the scene in fucking in Nepal, because they pull this shit off all the fucking time. I've seen them replicate this Nepal scene so many goddamn times. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's always, and I'm not saying this to be sexist at all. It just happens to always be a woman up against the guy, because that's how it was with Marion up against that other dude and stuff like that. They're always doing this shit. They're replicating this fucking scene consistently.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, in every aspect.
And it's like in the scene, if the guy actually wins, then they're being sexist. You know, so you have to, like, if you ever have a scene with this, with a woman drinking against a guy, the guy always has to lose. Otherwise, it's a sexist scene.
I have no problem with that. My problem is
I'm just saying like how the world works right now.
No, is that Lang is not even fucking drunk. You know what I mean? Like all
yeah.
Like, same with Marion. Same with Marion and all of that. Like she's not even fucking tipsy. You know, like
isn't the stuff supposed to be like super strong, like dwarf spirits and shit?
Do Klingons drink anything else other than fucking blood wine as well? That's what pisses me off. Is it the only fucking drink they have? You know, it's just. Well, I mean, I know Worf likes his prune juice, but it just feels like just blood wine. It's like Romulans only drink Romulan ale, and fucking Klingons only drink blood wine. That's it. Like fucking
Planets of hats.
Yeah.
So.
Sorry, Daniel Vance quickly also mentioned that. Sorry, he also said the drinking can remind me of Lost Ark. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you're the only person thinking that. And one could argue that making her genetically augmented in order to compete with a man is sexist.
Is she genetically enhanced? I don't think she is.
I don't think she is.
No, they're playing it like she's not. But
she's part of the.
She's an Illyrian, but
but she's related to the Khans, and the Khans are
just Noonien Singhs, not the Khans. Khan's his first name.
Oh, fucking I mean.
Khan Noonien Singh. She's a Noonien Singh.
Yeah. She's a bud ding ding. Yeah, I don't fucking care.
Not to be compared with Noonien Sung.
Yes.
Don't get mixed up. It's completely different. Sounds completely, drastically different.
Mm-hmm. They both sound like Indian restaurants. But anyway.
This is true.
So for her prize, La'an wants to set up a meeting with somebody. Dr. Mbanga makes contact and takes her up into the hills.
That woman drops some coin, doesn't she? Some woman drops some coin on the table. And
I didn't know if she was challenging her or if she was paying.
Yeah.
I thought she was challenging her first. But
I'm going to challenge you. Yeah, I'm going to challenge you after you've had shitloads of fucking Klingon blood wine. And I'm going to come in here sober like a motherfucker. Yeah, let's go. Like, come
That's fair. No, it turned. I was unsure at first too, but it turned out it was the prize money, but she'd rather have this meeting. So she's taken to Spock, Chapel, and Uhura, and La'an explains that she, found the little girl who survived the Gorn's parents here, but it wasn't happily ever after because during the war, this planet was a lot more profitable, the dilithium mining operation, and the new mining syndicate wants to reignite the war, and it's composed of both Klingons and Federation citizens or members. It wasn't really very clear.
They said ex Klingon, but they didn't say ex Federation or ex Starfleet.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what the.
Once again, and the more Star Trek 6 bullshit we're pulling out. It's like come on, like, please.
They've got one idea these days.
One day,
Starfleet's infiltrated. So they want to restart the war. Dr. Mbenga gets very upset at the concept of this war starting back up. And that will come, and like, maybe that'll come into play later. So La'an explains that there was an explosion at the mines, that people have started to get sick, including the little girl Oriana's parents. They theorize that the only thing that could cause dilithium to radiate in such a way to give people this sickness would be a photon torpedo.
And Dan O'Via's talking about the PTSD Mbega. And I mean, I did not have a problem with that part. The actor who played Mbega did a great job at illustrating PTSD on a level. My issue with Mbega in this episode, as well as Nurse Chapel, as well as other things that have happened in this episode, is coming up here. What Mage is going to be getting to. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get there. The PTSD part is actually probably one of the better part of the episodes I thought was portrayed by the actor who plays Mbega. I don't remember his name.
No, he and Ethan Peck knocked it out of the park this week with the acting.
Yeah, Ethan Peck was brilliant. Ethan Peck felt like he was still portraying a Vulcan who had the subtleties of emotion thrown in there too. It was superb, absolutely superb. Ethan Peck was. I mean, no wonder he's the grandson of Gregory Peck. I mean, runs in the family.
It's in the blood, apparently, that kind of talent. So the medical-minded people are ordered to go help these sick people by Spock, since they have med kits with them. The rest are going to help La'an with her investigation of who these people are that want to buy the Federation technology. There at the medical campment, Mbenga and Chapel treat the parents, but are technically, the term is impressed by the syndicate members and forced into unwilling assistance of some sort of military force.
I get it. Yes.
So there's no other medical personnel on this entire fucking planet.
Klingons are not known for having their medical or research personnel. So I mean, if Klingons' turn,
it just seemed like there was more than just Klingons on that planet. But all right, so be it.
Yeah, because it takes so much less than 30 days to switch your infrastructure teams out just Jesus. That
it's a fucking planet as well. Like in Star Trek, Star Wars, they do this sometimes, man. They treat planets like fucking towns, not cities, towns. It's crazy.
The thing is homogenous. Everything's the same everywhere.
Yeah.
They at the meeting, La'an pulls out an explosive to haggle for double the money while not bringing as many guns as she promised. I don't see what kind of advantage this got them other than maybe impressing the Klingon. While people she was selling the weapons to were walking up, Uhura was able to translate their dialect and overheard them saying that the big event is going to go down tomorrow. It must be Frontier Day.
And yes, the Ferengi could be pulling strings here, especially with the mention of a syndicate doing all for profit. wasn't a syndicate was it in Picard? Wasn't there a syndicate that was for profit, or am I thinking of?
I
No, you're right.
believe-
They have,
yeah,
they
in season 1.
No, it might have been season 3 of Discovery.
they haven't
About
come
the
across the
syndicate.
Ferengi yet, have they?
Well, technically in Enterprise, they encountered the Ferengi. I'm not saying that they were like they opened negotiations or anything like that, but there was a Neelix level of annoying Ferengi, and I actually just watched that episode the other day.
He was played by Ethan Phillips. That was
Mhm.
Neelix.
And
And Jeffrey fucking Combs.
Yeah, and Jeffrey Combs was in there too. He was
Second Ferengi that's not Brunt.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Combs has
got
played the
some
Ferengi
range.
twice.
Two different. Well, he's played two different
Yeah,
Ferengis.
but he was
Two
in
different
DS,
Ferengi, and he
yeah,
played
but
them
he was in
very
DS9.
differently. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
Brunt on DS9, but it's just showing his range by playing the same species but radically different in the two different characters.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to be a Combs fanboy when we do our Enterprise debate.
That's
coming
right.
down the line.
At the Beta Mania coming someday.
Soonish.
Soonish.
As soon.
That's right. You know what? I actually titled this one of my Birth of the Federation gaming videos. Rule of Acquisition 34. War is good for business.
No,
Fair enough.
I think hopefully Daniel Vance is onto something, but he's honestly he's smarter than the writing staff that Kurtzman keeps around, so, and knows more about Trek too. But I digress. So they request a beam out, and the transporter chief tells Spock that they lost track of Umanga and Chapel's signal about an hour ago. We see the med team being taken to a ship that's being assembled in a cavern on this planet that looks like a Federation ship. It looks like a Discovery type ship. I didn't catch what class they said, but they said
honestly it starts with a C, but it honestly looked more like a Luna class, like from TNG era. I thought it was kind of weird that.
Well, at first, sorry, go on.
I just like more of like an Akaran Luna class. Like it was weird. The nacelles didn't look right. Like me being the class of ship son of a bitch that I am. I mean, these are things I noticed.
It looks too sleek for this time period.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought they salvaged this particular ship at first, but then I came to realize that they were building it from scratch,
which is really plausible. Makes so much sense.
Well, I mean, they did it because they needed to build. Just stating the obvious here, but they wanted obviously to restart the war, and if they had a Federation-looking ship as the antagonist that kicks, that basically started all of this, then that would be a great way an easy way to.
Yeah, but they had to also it couldn't just look like a Federation ship. It had to have a transponder like a Federation ship, which I think they acquired. Or are you sure that ship wasn't there? Like, and they just,
they said they were building it. That's
okay.
what Chapel and Umanga
so maybe
said.
they stole the transponder from another ship, maybe, and that's
maybe. It seems like an awful lot of effort to go to. There's easier ways to get that war started back up than building a whole ass ship from scratch in a cave.
It's not like the Klingon, with a box of scraps. But it's not just it's not just like having to follow particular procedures and we have particular signatures to it in order for it to be a credible replica of a Starfleet ship. If it commits an act of treason, then regardless of having to follow these other procedures that it needs to replicate to be authenticized as a Starfleet ship, the Klingons will say, "Fuck all that. This is a Starfleet ship. It started on us. We're going to start a war now." They don't give a fuck about all the other things.
Well, I think the people on the planet were trying to start the war, not the Klingons themselves. Like because they were saying about the people who own the planet were saying that the war was profitable for them from the Klingons and the
Yeah,
Federation.
but there was
So
a
I
lot of
think
Klingons involved
so I don't. But there were Klingons involved,
because
but I don't
those
think
are the
it was
ones
all the
involved in the fight.
Klingons.
No,
Huh?
but it seemed, but when we had that, sorry for jumping ahead here, that when we had that fight scene, they were all pretty much Klingons.
Yeah, that's because Klingons fights. Woo!
Anyway, sorry, Mage.
Yeah.
But there
No,
were humans on there too. I thought I saw.
like there were some
Yeah,
humans with the Klingon lady when they first kidnapped M'Benga and Chapel, but I don't remember seeing any during the big brawl scene, like Zam's saying. I
I
didn't.
think in the hallways there were some humans that were like once they were getting ready to seal the door. I think that there were humans on their way.
Okay.
I don't. I'd have to go back and look, but I might be wrong. I was
So,
watching it on my phone. Uh-oh. Medication time.
yeah.
so it is getting late. Holy crap. I'm gonna kick it in high gear, fellas. So the
Yay.
Dr. M'Benga is treating a wounded Klingon. The Klingon asks where he's treated them before, and then doesn't believe Dr. M'Benga's answer when he tells them the moon of Jagal. He says that if the doctor had been there, he would surely be dead. And we get the doctor describing how it rained blood on this planet after the battle, and just some of that great acting you guys were talking about. Chapel asks if he's okay, and we get kind of that, this depiction of, PTSD. He says that he's not okay, but he's in control. They kind of deduce the plot that this imposter ship will be used to attack the Klingons, and they juice up, and we have this fight scene.
No, for that first start, that stuff is what I like to call Temp V. Tell me, you guys seen The Boys?
No,
Season
it's
4,
totally
season
Temp
3.
V. It's
Yeah,
totally Temp V.
it's the same fucking color for a start, and it gives you powers for a limited time only. In this case, it's only maybe for about an hour or so, but yeah, definitely Temp V. You saw their pupils dilate and all of that, and I don't know where they had this shit from in the first place, but they were very lucky to have it,
I have
and
no idea where the hell they got this stuff from, and I
They
might have
and they
missed it.
No, me and my wife, neither one of us could remember if this was something from Strange New World season 1. They talked about it like it's been a whole big plot point before, and I do not remember the stuff
I don't
at
remember it
all.
either. I'm like, what? Where did this come from? Like, I don't even think did Laan give it to them? Like on the surface? Like, I don't.
No,
and on
because
top of
Chapel said, "Do you always carry this?" Like it's something that the doctor created or something. It almost feels like they left a whole ass scene on the cutting room floor last season, forgot that they cut it out, and
Right?
now have this whole plot point dependent upon that.
and look,
Daniel
this stuff
Van
as
says.
well. Go on.
Dana Van says that the drug Mbanga and Chapel took could be a variation on cortisine, the same drug that sent McCoy into a manic, which was the which episode was that? Was that the Guardian of Tomorrow episode
Fuck knows.
I
or the
believe
Guardian of
so.
Forever? It's where he like goes crazy and like runs into the Guardian.
All I know is that this fucking magical drug, and not only does it make you strong, it makes you into a decent fighter as well. Like you're able to fight. I mean, having strength is one thing, but you might not know how to actually throw your punches well and whatever. This shit makes you fucking it turns you, as you said earlier, into John Wick. You know what I
Oh
mean? It gives
yeah,
you
that's what
fucking
I'm saying. It was like the John Wick episode. Now it's like
you become fucking Jackie Chan and John Claude Van Damme and all of this shit. You can you can take on Klingons, a whole bunch of them.
I mean, Starfleet battle maneuvers at this point, consist of the double fist downward punch, not Krav Maga like this crap. I
Yeah.
just,
dude,
I mean,
dude,
I know they claim that Starfleet officers have this extensive, CQC combat and all
yeah, but I don't
this.
think medical staff really have to go through that because they never act like they go through that. I mean, Julian. I don't
everybody-
ever remember Julian throwing too many hands with people.
And only
yeah,
on
he's
the
augmented
holodeck.
himself.
Yeah. Also brings up a good point. It's slow-mo from Dread. Dude, there was so like Michael Bay jizzed
Slow-mo from
himself.
Dread, yeah. Yeah.
Michael Bay jizzed
Exactly.
himself watching this episode. Like he wasn't even watching it. It just happened. Like when this episode was airing, he's just like, "Oh, what happened? Oh, it must be slow-mo somewhere."
Exactly, yeah.
So we, they fight down the hallway. Mbanga, brutalizes one of these Klingon Syndicate members to get the information. Once they know where the transponder is, they head there. There's more fighting as they make their way down the hallway. But their tent fee's flagging. Oh no, they're getting tired. Oh,
Kind
they're
of remind
starting
me
to
of
take.
Wolverine in Logan when he's fucking that adrenaline rush he took, was wearing out. Yeah.
Yep. So Chapel holds off some Klingons while the Doctor codes a message into the transponder. But then reinforcements arrive. They start shooting at them, and they make for an airlock. And then we have even more fighting, and the engines start warming up, and then they start they launch with them stuck in an airlock. We cut to the
Yeah.
Enterprise, which is hiding in an ice and rock field where the rock has high concentrations of iron, and they're using it kind of as a cloaking field. The Klingon battle cruiser enters the system. Lon contacts the Enterprise on a secure channel. Nobody's finding the doctor or the nurse. La'an's contacts have left the planet. Whatever is happening is about to happen soon. And just as she says that, the ship emerges from the underground cave. Uhura detects the message in the transponder of the ship once it hits orbit. He wants, he's telling the Enterprise to destroy that ship. On the ship, Chapel and Mbanga have like 5 minutes or less before the Syndicate members cut through the blast doors into this airlock.
Well, look, they sent a message to Spock via Morse code. That you have to blow up the ship because it's dangerous or whatever. What I don't get, and forgive me if I'm wrong, is that things like Morse code, I just feel that people from the future won't know because it's so primitive that
If anybody on the Enterprise would recognize Morse code and be able to translate it, it would be Uhura. But you're right, it would be so antiquated by that time. I mean, it's antiquated now.
yeah,
So
look,
I mean,
yeah,
it'll be downright ancient by then. It'd be like Uhura being
you
able to
look,
write
yeah,
Latin.
you look at today's world, and when it comes to yesteryear's technology, like so many people haven't got a fucking clue. You show a rotary phone to a kid, they have no idea what the fuck it is. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So yeah, the idea of like then people from like the 24th century or whatever knowing Morse code, I just refuse to believe that. It just seems too primitive. Even if they learnt it once to remember it, please.
I mean, but she is a communication specialist, and I mean, maybe maybe Starfleet still uses
And
Morse
these are
code.
medical staff, and these are medical staff doing it as well. We're not even talking about maybe more field operatives.
see,
These are these are fucking nurse and a doctor.
Well,
there's an
yeah,
episode of Ent, I think, where Hoshi even was like, "Oh, it's an old system of communication called Morse code." I think that was the Terra Nova episode. So even at that point in time, like it was like, "Oh, that's an old form of communication."
yeah, it's an old form of communication. No, Morse 2. Yeah, they called it Morse 2. So I don't know if that's maybe they brought Morse code out of retirement for some
Maybe.
reason.
Yeah.
Well, it comes in clutch now. So the doctor and the
And
nurse.
I expect the ship's computer to automatically pick it up without even a communication expert on standby. You know. Anyway.
Zam has high expectations for everybody, so
Yeah. It's in water. Okay. Yeah, I guess.
So on the Enterprise, Spock deduces the nature of the plot, the purpose of this ship, and when asked what his orders are, he has them follow and stay within weapons range, but not fire yet. He wants to kind of buy time to find and get the nurse and the doctor. We cut to them, and there's not complete EV suits in this airlock bay. There's a helmet and there's the jetpack, and
Yeah.
the doctor.
Yeah.
Now,
It looks like props from a fucking bullshit fucking play or something like that. You know.
yeah, and the doctor says that their only chance is to jump out into space and hope that the Enterprise gets the beacon from the helmet, and he'll use the maneuvering thruster to send them towards it. Um, Spock continues to hold their fire up
Oh,
until the
just
last
so you
second.
know, they are still being hunted by the rest of the remaining of the Klingons, so they are stuck between a rock and a
Rock
hard
and hard
place.
place. Yeah, no, it
Yeah,
probably. I mean, it is the only move, and you know,
yeah.
but it's just you know cutting it close. But if it's your only move, it's your only move. Um,
Yeah, but I think being captured as Starfleet officers would have been far more detrimental than launching themselves out in space and killing themselves. It would have been the logical thing for them to do. As Spock would say. So
they leap out. Spock gives the order, and they fire the torpedoes and blow up the ship. Um, he gets emotional and sheds a tear as he you know thinks that he's killed them. The beacon is picked up, though. He has them beamed onto the ship, and he goes down to the transporter room and sees the dying Nurse Chapel and does chest compressions on her while, telling her that he waited and, practically begging her to not die on him. Um, she starts breathing again, but before he can, check on her further, he's informed that the Klingon captain has hailed. Um, the captain will not believe Spock's explanation until he comes down and meets him face to face and looks him in the eye. Real honorable Klingon type stuff. Um, so Spock responds, "Well, maybe we can do that over a barrel of blood wine." Um, so the uh, the Klingon commander says, "Well, you're no ordinary Vulcan," to which Spock agrees. On the planet, he toasts with the Klingons and downs the blood wine. Um, Commander Palia thanks Spock for getting her out of the academy, and we get the full exposition of what her species is. They're very long lived. They coexisted on Earth, concealing their identities up until the 22nd century, and
don't
that
give a fuck.
it jammed this in. I mean, I was just because that's
She's still being very cryptic about everything.
fair. Yeah,
So
and see, this
and
is
honestly, like fuck you. I don't care. I mean,
you know
I really don't. Yeah, like the crypticness is just bullshit. Like just be straight up with us. If not, then fuck off.
they're trying to do a doctor type character. They're trying to do the doctor, and I don't think it's working. This Commander Palia says that Amanda was Spock's mother was one of the first people she came out to. You know, she said that you asked me why I helped, and then she starts to explain you know by asking a question in more cryptic stuff. But we get the reveal that Spock thinks that the greatest pain to someone who has a long life is losing loved ones. um she disagrees, calling him an un-Vulcan, sweet un-Vulcan Vulcan, and says that it would be boredom. It's boredom, and that the Enterprise has a shortage of that, so she's gonna come along, basically whether he likes it or not. And
I think her arc is that you know what, give me fucking boredom and I'm getting the fuck off this thing. By the season finale, you know, she'll probably be like, yeah, I want boredom. This adventure arc is not my cup of tea. So
the Klingon commander that Spock is drinking with is Andrew Jackson, Love Sausage from The Boys. So there you go, Zam. There's your person from The Boys.
fair enough.
he brought the V from their set.
Yep. Brought the V from the B.
Well, there'll be a massive Boys crossover coming soon, but as we all know,
so Spock rejoins the Klingons, and the commander raises a toast to him, to the Vulcan who acts nothing like a Vulcan. La'an says goodbye to Oriana, and we get Spock played for laughs again with him attempting to roar. The next morning, a hungover Spock.
like fucking a bunch of fucking pirates, man. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. No. The next morning, a very hungover Spock gets dressed down by the Admiral, but all he gets is a dressing down. He's let off with barely even a slap on his wrist. He's told that the hangover is his punishment. Spock goes to sickbay, and he's overlooking Nurse Chapel. He's crying. The doctor finds him and tells him that she'll be fine. Spock explains that he has no words for these feels. We cut to him playing his Harper lyre some more as the Enterprise returns to Starbase 1, and then we get the sinister scene where I can see why Zam might think that they're doing this as some bad faith admirals here. They explain that he let Spock off, with no punishment because he very well kept them from having two wars on their hands at once. And the on-screen display reveals that the threat that they are vaguely talking about is a possible Gorn invasion. And that's where the episode ends.
So we start a war with the Klingons, because I thought they might be in on it to a degree.
Well, no, they're talking about that they're. I don't think the admirals are doing anything shady. I just think they're worried about a war between the Federation and the Gorn coming. Actually, Dana Vance says the map April shows of Galderne or whatever. This is where Kangor, Koloth, and Curzon Dax attempted to intercept the albino DS9 Blood Oath. I love that episode, by the way. That is one of my favorite Jadzia Dax episodes.
I knew that planet name was a reference, but I couldn't place it. That'd be why it's a DS9 thing. I've only seen it once.
Yeah, I love that episode so much. That Blood Oath is a good episode. Anyone who knows wants to watch Klingon episodes, that's my episode that I would send them to.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
Do you guys have anything else you want to say about the episode? Like anything in particular that's stuck in your craw about it before we do marks?
Just everything. I really was disappointed with this episode. Not because it was bad, but just because they kind of were doing some things that just didn't make any sense. And I mean, I guess that is the definition of a bad episode, but still, I think there was a good episode in conception here, but I just felt like it was very, very poorly executed. And I felt like that they were having, I don't know, just they were having a lot of, they were going too big. They wanted it to be this big episode. I like the first episode of the first season. They didn't go big. There was ramifications for what was happening, but remember they were on that planet and it started to develop because they saw what was going on with the Red Angel and all that other stuff from Discovery season 2. So but they still didn't go big like this. And that's kind of where I feel like that if this is the way the show's going, I don't know if it's going to be as good as season 1 because I don't want them to inflate their own egos. Keep it simple. Keep it if you're going to do episodic Trek, keep it simple. If you're going to do a big episode, make it a 2-parter like they did in TNG and like they did in DS9 and Voyager. Like, don't, and even Enterprise, don't just, you don't have to come out the gate swinging huge. I'm sorry, like I don't believe they do. I know a lot of people are like, oh, like they're blah 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 blah, but it's like I felt like that this was just this felt like a mid-season finale episode almost.
Okay, look, my thing with this episode, with the ending of this, was the fact that they are setting up for some overarching narrative, which is the whole reason why we watch Star Trek No Way Home. Sorry, not No Way Home. Strange New Worlds, is because it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be more episodic. Now, if they are going to do a season-long narrative, disguise it better than this, because what you've done now is given us something that we will have to harken back to through almost each episode. If it was disguised better and there was little Easter eggs here, there, and everywhere in every episode, and then we could put the pieces together, so to speak, then that would have been better for an end of season narrative. But what concerns me now is that even if we might get certain episodes which are fully enclosed and they've got nothing to do with this overarching narrative, you do know that there is a bigger picture at play now, which is kind of bugging me a little bit. Like,
And now
sorry,
Go ahead,
I
sorry.
would rather have these overarching narratives to be more part of character development. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Than a giant story.
Yes, the old school style model episodes, but with the season long character arcs. And they're setting up for a good character arc with Spock having to come to grips with, having unleashed his emotions and being part human, and therefore his emotions being even out of whack already for a Vulcan. But doing this big galactic level threat, save that for the shows that are like Picard, please.
Yeah.
Just, and your Discoveries and your Picards, I thought they were giving, us guys like us kind of what we were looking for with this show.
Well, and keep in mind, I am not a huge fan of the episodic format. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying that it has no place in Trek. I like the season long runs, like Enterprise season 3 and season 4 had a lot of that. DS9 obviously had a lot of that. But I, as I said, I believe that episodic Trek has a I almost want to say constitutional right to be there. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, you like Strange New Worlds is like the breath of fresh air for the episodic format. And if they're gonna kind of bleed in this overarching narrative of serialization, I don't know. Like, it loses a couple notches.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
Well, let's mark the episode then and say good
Also,
night to these fine folks.
the poll's up in the chat, by the way, for any of you looking for it. So, all right, do you want me to start?
Yes, sir. We'll just rotate clockwise.
I'm gonna give it a 5. The only thing that I can say out of this episode that I actually enjoyed was the Mbega PTSD stuff. That was actually really good. Seeing the Klingons that look like actual Klingons is nice. That just in and of itself. But the story surrounding this, the conspiracy, the way that they executed a lot of this, the new chief engineer, God, I hate her so far. I mean, like, what you guys are saying about Ortega's last season is what I'm thinking about her this season. I just wanted to shut up already.
I think they worked on Ortega's to make sure that she wasn't too fucking annoying. Hopefully.
No, I didn't have a
liked
problem
her
with
better
Ortega's last season. So,
Oh my god, man! Yeah, she was so fucking annoying last season with her constant quips and jabs every time the fucking captain's giving her a fucking order. Like, shut the fuck up, do what he has to say, and stop fucking complaining about it. Yeah, he's your fucking captain, for fuck's sake. It just felt, you mentioned like the military aspect. This is the element of the military where you do as you're told to a degree. You know what I mean? Especially when
The
something as
chain of
mundane
command.
as it's especially when something as mundane as fucking being ordered to fly a fucking ship. You know,
I know, but
just,
and I did have
you
an
know,
issue with that part. I remember having an issue with that part where she started questioning the captain, and I'm like, wait a minute. But still, like she wasn't. That was like a bad moment,
it,
but like she wasn't annoying to me. Like that,
no,
you guys
not
always were
necessarily
like,
questioning, but she's almost like critical, you know, of the captain. You know, like it with like a bit of sarcastic comments and stuff like that. It just felt like just shut the fuck up and do your job. You know what I mean? Have some respect for the people in charge and shit like that. You know, I mean, but everyone seems to be like on every episode, every series of Star Trek. Yeah, they have to be like the greatest pilot of all time, and she's supposed to be the greatest pilot in this fucking series, but doesn't mean that you're not replaceable. Shut the fuck up and do your job. Yeah. So
Daniel Vance gives it a 6. He says it lit the fires. Now, now it just needs to go fast.
I'm gonna give this episode a 7, simply because as much as look, I think they went too much with with like way too much action for a Star Trek episode. You know, like it should have been a little bit more about what makes people love Star Trek in the first place, which is more the intelligent aspects of it. But they went with the brainless action. Fair enough. All right, see how that
I don't have
goes.
a problem with the action. I just like where did Mbega and like even if it was like Ortega's or
Yeah, like I said, brainless action because these motherfuckers finally got strong, but they ended up being also competent fighters as well.
yeah. I mean,
I mean,
if it was like Noonian, I don't remember her first name, Lana.
long,
Like if it was her,
yeah.
like okay, it makes sense. She's a security officer. She can fight, whatever. Like even like Spock or Pike, right? But it's like the
Oh,
two
Spock is
physicians.
already strong.
Yeah,
You know
and
what I mean?
like the two
He was
physicians,
that
I'm like,
muscle. Yeah,
really?
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You know, like so, some of that was a bit stupid, as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned.
that's as I said, that
It
was
was
another part where
nice.
I'm like, really? What?
It was nice just getting back in the show and getting back into the swing of things. It's the first episode. I did enjoy it. I did like the fact that they were bridging certain things that happened in Disco season one, which is a smart move in my opinion. Like these things shouldn't just be done and dusted and forgotten. It's good that we can come back to these things, um, which is what I like about Star Trek when it comes to the history and world building and all of that. You know, so yeah, that's why I give it a 7. Far from perfect, but good to be back, old friend. That's for sure. I
Boone,
didn't hate
I
this episode. I do question it though.
Boone, I knew you were in the chat because somebody voted that this episode was a 10 out of 10. And I'm like, Boone's in the chat. I can tell he's there. Somebody
I've
voted a 10.
I've already. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell Boone this because work just caught me up. But what time are we're reviewing Boone's episode contract? What
That's
time are we
I think next week.
on the 20th? I told him it was on the 20th, but I forgot what time it was.
I mean, either 1 or 4. I don't remember. I usually try to gauge it based on whether you guys are putting crap out of nowhere. So I try to.
Yeah, I actually I
It's
do
hard.
apologize.
It's hard to
I,
schedule
I,
things when you guys just keep doing crap, like and you don't even check to see what's coming out next.
Yeah, that one that was my fault that last time. I do apologize
Every
for
time it's your
making
fault, Zam. I hate to throw you under the
for
bus.
making additional content for this channel. I do apologize. How dare I? But
Without
nevertheless,
checking,
yeah, that was a one-off. I'm sorry. I'm usually more on board, but regarding Boone on the at 9 p.m. UK, which will be what 3 p.m. your time. 3 p.m. your time on the 20th, we're going to review Contract. And then everything else you make from now onwards, boom, we're going to review it for the rest of your life. So help you God. All right.
What? Oh my god, poor fella.
He gives it an 8. Oh, fair enough. I think he's just happy for it to be back. So,
All right, so my turn.
yeah.
I was so stoked on this the first time. I was hyped about it being back. I was so excited. Told my wife, "Oh, I'm gonna give it an 8." I was so excited, and I did my second watch, and every time I have to stop and take notes, I just think, but questions, but
yeah.
so there was it's a good concept of the episode, just a lot problems in the execution, with the exceptions of the performances. The acting was really good, especially out of Peck and the actor who plays Dr. Mbenga, but no, the execution flopped on it, and I'm torn between 6 and 7. Go 6. That's the final answer. 6.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I'm hoping, hopefully, we'll get some resolution now. I think with next week, and just a guess, without knowing what the hell's going on, we're going to probably focus more on Pike. And Una.
Yeah,
and
him recruiting the lawyers pretty much.
I know
next week to be.
When I made the thumbnail, I just assumed that the whole thumbnail or the whole episode was going to be about Una's trial. Like, that's why I made the thumbnail what it was. I already changed it, but I'm like, wait a minute, like we saw Una in like 5 seconds, and Pike pretty much 5 seconds of this episode.
Yeah. So yeah, not having enough
next
daddy
time
will definitely hurt your rating
in
for
it.
Mage.
Just put Spock in it. You can't go wrong next time.
Well, no, because next time will probably just be Una and Pike, and Spock won't be involved. So
possibly, yeah.
That's what I'm
for Heartless in there. Yeah, I mean, so
I got it.
Anyways.
Don't worry.
Well, that has been another Star Trek episode review here on NerdTube. I want to thank everybody who's joined us at the chat tonight. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button up there. Make sure that if you do choose to subscribe, which we would very much appreciate, that you hit that bell icon. That way you get all of our notifications, so you don't miss things like tomorrow night's The World Has Gone Insane. Let's talk about it, chat. You guys
I can't wait to tell you guys about the fucking Karen that was in my cab today. I had a fucking Karen in my cab, like a full-on Karen. And if you want to know about that, you have to watch tomorrow's fucking stream, and I'll tell you the story of the Karen that was in my cab today.
So yeah,
and I got a new car, by the way, same as the old car, but 1 year newer.
Oh, cheers, man! Awesome.
Yeah, 2022 model, beautiful.
Very, very nice. But yes, everybody should definitely subscribe to NerdTube. We cover tons of different stuff here: fan film reviews, DC, Marvel, Trek, Star Wars. Me and Cheeto like to gaming. Like, covered the Xbox Games Conference recently, right, guys?
Yeah.
Me and Cheeto, we'll talk about Final Fantasy every once in a while here on the channel. Just launched a Do They Make Remakes video. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, scroll on down a little bit and
with 16 coming out here pretty soon, I mean, you got to load up on all your Final Fantasy needs.
I'm going to try to hop in the chat tomorrow night, because I want to talk about that demo a little bit. I want to talk about what I'm...
Yeah, Zam, you should play that demo before tomorrow night so we can talk about it.
Yeah, okay. Remind me, I'll do it tomorrow because I got a day off tomorrow.
Listen, like you told me that you thought I would like Assassin's Creed way back when, and I became obsessed with Assassin's Creed. You will love this Final Fantasy 16.
You will, bro. I was thinking when I was playing it, I'm like, man, this is up Zam's alley. This is not a kiddie Final Fantasy game.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, I almost felt, don't get me wrong, I almost felt, I don't want to say the word insulted, but I can't think of anything else, but like, oh, you're going to like this, Sam. It's got swearing in it. It's like, fuck me, man.
You constantly talk about how not all media doesn't need to be explicitly directed at children, and that it's good that there's media for adults.
I agree.
That's why I said there's cussing, there's blood in it.
But I can enjoy stuff which is PG-13, But the point is that because I say stuff like that, and then your idea of me enjoying something is. There are stuff with loads of swearing, loads of fucking shitty fucking nudity and bullshit action that I fucking despise. You know what I mean? I'm
You
not.
care
You know what I
about
mean?
the quality of the content.
Yes.
Yes, but it's
Yeah.
not. But my inference was with that was that it's not geared towards kids like a lot of Final Fantasies have been. Like they go all in on the mature rating.
All right. Well,
because it's
I'll
a
be-
mature rating. Like,
Well, look, when it comes to whether I like it or not, I can only be the judge of that. So, yeah, remind me. I'm going to fucking down when I wake up tomorrow. I'm going to play it.
well, see, Eastman. Yeah, well, we do blanket spoilers when we start these reviews, but yeah, then we're talking spoilers about that demo tomorrow on our generalized stream. All right, but I appreciate you stopping by. Hit the like button.
That Craig Eastman.
Who?
Craig.
I don't know. It could be Craig. Could be Chris. I don't know.
Oh, could be Chris. Oh, yes, Chris.
All right. Anyway, Major Rage, take us home.
All right. Thank you again, everybody. This has been Major Rage, Cousin Cheeto, and Zam here for NerdTube. We're the best channel that you've maybe kind of, sort of heard of. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Long live and peace off.